So I just realized that every single year that I have filmed this video, I have filmed it outside. I guess it's just a tradition now. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Hi, my name is Liz and today we're going to be doing the mid-year check-in or mid-year freakout tag, mid-year book tag, whatever you prefer to call it. I really don't care. This is just me checking in halfway throughout the year to see if I've been keeping up with my reading goals, talking about some of my favorite reads, some of my biggest disappointments, some new authors, all of the things that I have experienced with reading up until this point. Also, this is a really good time to reevaluate kind of the books that I'm wanting to read the rest of this year. I have a 25 books in 2025 that I'm trying to keep up with. Honestly, I need to figure out how many of those books I've actually read because I know it's not a lot. I know I have not hit double digits with that one. So that is already one thing that I need to start focusing on more, and this video is helping me realize that. We're going to start by talking about some of my reading goals that I set for myself at the beginning of the year, and then I have about 10 different book tags that I'm going to be talking about. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So starting off, I know in previous years I have set a lot of reading goals for myself. This year, however, is a little different. I only set a goal of reading 100 books this year. I don't want to set a goal that's so far and hard to reach that puts more pressure on my reading. I want to enjoy my reading. It's my hobby. It's one of my all-time favorite hobbies. Just a massive bee flew by, and I want it to continue being something fun that I look forward to doing. If I wanted to be overly ambitious, I probably could have done like 120, because usually like getting to 120, that's like pushing it a little bit, but I have gotten over 120 in previous years. So far, after checking my reading journal, I am currently at 55 books for the year, so I'm already over halfway, and that's really the only goal that I set for myself this year. I finally got Goodreads and created an account on there. That has been very helpful, just keeping track of how many books that I've read, and that's really the only reason why I got Goodreads. I don't love the interface. I don't love that you can only do like whole star ratings, because I do a lot of half stars. Sometimes I even do 0.25 or 0.75, but it is fun getting to see other people what they're currently reading. That's pretty much it. Also trying to keep up with my 25 books of 2025. I need to get better at that. I have a whole shelf on my TBR cart that is dedicated to those books, so I really just need to start hitting those soon. The first book tag we're going to be doing is best book so far. So I actually have 2 books for this. I did have a few 5 stars already of this year, but these are the 2 that stood out to me among all of those 5 stars. Beartown by Fredrik Backman. That is going to be the first one. I absolutely loved this book. This was my first Fredrik Backman book, and I fell in love with the town. I fell in love with the characters. It's definitely more of a character study, and it's just such a beautiful story. It's about a town that loves hockey, and you get to see almost every single point of view of people in this town. So I feel like it's a great book for literally anyone, because you get to be in everyone's shoes. It's not like you're just in a teenage girl's shoes or an old man's shoes. Like, you are in everybody's shoes, and you're learning bits and pieces about them and how all of their stories intertwine throughout the whole story. I really, really enjoyed it. It brought me to tears. And the second book that I also put as one of my best books so far is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I read this recently this past month. Absolutely loved it. Devoured it within like 24 hours. I went to an author event with her and got to listen to her talk about her process of writing this book. It was so great. I loved our main character and watching her journey. The story follows a diviner in this world. There's these 6 omens, and each of them have their own artifact, and her job is to drown and then dream of these artifacts, and she's able to tell people their fortune, kind of like if, you know, they're gonna have a prosperous life and that kind of thing. She is one of 6 diviners, and each of the other diviners ends up going missing, and so she goes on this whole journey of trying to find these diviners, and she goes with this very grumpy knight named Rory, and also a gargoyle who is her sidekick, and it was just such a fun ride. I laughed. I didn't cry, but I probably could have, and I just felt all the emotions when I was reading this book. So highly, highly recommend. Also, I know that Rachel Gillig said that she's already done writing the first draft of the second book, and it's going to be another duology. I'm so excited. The next book tag we have is best sequel, and the only sequel that I feel like this could go to out of all the books that I've read is Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the second book after Heartless Hunter. I gave Heartless Hunter 5 stars last year. It was one of my top books of last year, and I loved it. I love this world that we're in. It's definitely like historical fantasy. It's set back in time time like Regency era, and our main character is a witch and she's living in a world where witches are hunted. This is the second book, follows like about a month after the ending of the first book. It was so fast paced. I felt like the pacing was done really well with this one, and I really loved where our characters were at. I liked their journey that they went through. I was just hooked from page one. It was such a great end to this duology. I was very satisfied. The third book tag we're going to talk about is new release that you haven't read yet but want to. I really want to read Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I read everything Ali Hazelwood writes, and I'm really excited for this one because it follows the younger sister of one of our male main characters from a previous book, and it's an age gap romance between her and her older brother's best friend. You get to see glimpses of these two in that other book, like I mentioned. I was always really excited about their story. It takes place at this like summer villa because it's her brother's wedding, so it's forced proximity, and it's just, I've heard great things already about this book. I don't usually like age gap romances, but I've heard from people that also don't like age gap romances that this is done really, really well. And another new release is My Friends by Fredrik Backman. Like I said, I just recently read one of his books for the first time this year, and I also read Anxious People last month, and so I'm really, really excited about this one because I've heard amazing reviews from people close to me. People have cried, they've laughed, they felt all the emotions, and that I think is just the case with all of his books. I don't know much about it except that it centers around a painting of these three friends, and it's told in a past and present timeline, so you're getting to see those friends back in the past and their journey, and then also how this artwork of these friends in the present, how it's impacting the people around this painting. The next book tag is most anticipated new release for the second half of the year. So these are books that have not been released just yet. The first one is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This is the author of Divine Rivals. I absolutely loved that duology. I gave both books 5 stars last year, and this is her next book. It's kind of set in the same world, I believe, but this time it's talking about the gods and goddesses in this world instead of the humans. I believe it follows a goddess and also a human boy. I'm not really sure anything else besides that, but I know that I'm really excited to get back into this world, and I also love her writing. It's so magical, and I'm really excited for it. And another new release that's coming out is Coldwire by Chloe Gong. I have read a couple books by Chloe Gong. I think I've read 4 so far. I read These Violent Delights, like her Romeo and Juliet retelling, that's young adult, and then I also read Immortal Longings, and then Vilest Things, and then I think there's gonna be a third book that's gonna be a trilogy eventually, and I have enjoyed all 4 of those books. She does a really great job taking a Shakespearean play and modernizing it and turning it into a really cool fantasy world. I'm not quite sure much about this one either. I just saw that it was coming out. I also have the arc for both of these books. Coldwire takes place in kind of like a futuristic sci-fi world, and that's pretty much all I know. Anything that either of these authors write, I'm gonna read. The next book tag is Biggest Disappointment. Now this is hard because I don't love bashing on books. Every reader likes certain types of books, and in this case, I'm not saying that these are bad books. They just weren't for me. Maybe the writing style, maybe the content, whatever tropes were in it, all of the above. The first book I'm going to talk about is Good Boy by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. I read this past winter. It is a hockey romance, and I just really didn't love the male main character in this book. Honestly, I felt like he was very vulgar pretty much the entire book. I did not like reading about him. I also didn't love their romance. It was definitely more of like a hookup situation, friends with benefits type romance, and it just didn't hit for me. I did not like it. And then the second book is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. I actually read this past month, and I read it for a book club, and we were doing a cozy fantasy. Cozy I don't think is for me. I'm gonna keep giving it a shot because I feel like there are some really great cozy titles. I also think you have to be in the mood for a cozy book, and I unfortunately was not in the mood for this one. I need something that has a little bit more high stakes, and I think at the time I just was not in it. I didn't really feel any highs and lows. It was all just like we were writing this fine line in the entire book. I know a lot of people love this book, and it's like a staple for cozy fantasy. Unfortunately, it just wasn't for me. I think I just read it at the wrong time. The next book tag is Biggest Surprise. So I actually love this one because anytime you find a book by an author that you've never read before, or a book that you haven't heard anything about, it's the best feeling when you find a book that you genuinely love and you are just like pleasantly surprised by it. The first one is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I ended up giving this 5 stars this past, I think, February maybe. I loved this book so much. It's about a female chemist. It's historical fiction, and you're learning about her and her journey trying to change the status quo. I just loved the writing style of this book. It definitely reminded me of Taylor Jenkins Reid, like kind of her writing style as well. I know there's a TV show based on this book, and I'm really excited to watch that eventually, but I just love the story. It was so heartwarming. I cried while I was reading it, and I just loved our journey with our main character. And the second surprise was Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolf. Heavenbreaker is more of like a sci-fi fantasy, and this is one that I've owned for a while. I bought it mainly, not gonna lie, because of how beautiful the cover was. it lived up to the cover, I must say. It was such a fun ride. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. It has a little bit of romance, so if you don't love romance heavy, like romantasy, this would be a great book for you, especially introducing you into that, because the romance was so little. Like, it was definitely slow burn, and it was just tiny little glimpses throughout the story. You're following a futuristic world where Earth is uninhabitable. Everyone lives up in space in these like stations. One thing that they all do is there's these different houses, and each house has a champion who is like their jouster. They get in these big robots and they do jousting tournaments. Our main character, she is trying to get revenge on her father. Her father and his family is embarrassed of her and her mother, and her father tries to kill her and ends up killing her mom. She is trying to get revenge on her family's house, her father's house. She is joining this jousting tournament so that way she can win, and the more she wins, the man who she's jousting for, he is slowly picking off different members of that family to help her get revenge. She kind of has nothing to lose. She doesn't care if she lives or dies, and it's just a really great read. The next book tag is favorite new author. So I have two new authors that I fell in love with this year, and the first one is Fredrik Backman. I think that was a no-brainer. Like I said, I read his Beartown for the first time this year. I also read Anxious People, loved it, and I'm going to be reading My Friends very soon. I just love his writing. I feel like he does such a great job putting you in other people's shoes, and also he has a way of telling someone's story just in a very gentle way. It really makes you have empathy for literally anyone. You might end up hating the character, but you still have a little bit of empathy for them, and I think he just does a great job tackling some pretty heavy topics. And the second new favorite author I have is Amelia Hart. She wrote Wayward and Sirens. I read both of those this year, and I fell in love with her writing. She has very atmospheric and beautiful lyrical writing. It feels very magical. Just feel like you are immersed in the story. She will take different time periods and she'll interweave different women's stories. By the end, you're just like in awe of how she was able to merge different timelines, different generations, and make it all feel like it's connected. And it's just very beautiful writing. And the next book tag is newest fictional crush. So this is a new one I haven't done in past years, but I thought it was too funny, so I just had to add this in. I would say my newest fictional crush this year would be Rory from Night and the Moth. He's the grumpy knight that I mentioned. I loved him in this book. I felt like from the beginning he does a great job challenging our main character and standing up for what he believes in. He also is very loyal. I really loved their love story. I loved learning about him more and his background. He was very grumpy, and I don't know what it is about that, but I ate it up. The next book tag is book that made you cry. So I have two different books here, and the first one is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I already mentioned I cried, and Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. Both of these books made me cry, and it takes a lot to get me to cry when I'm reading, so I found this very impressive. And the final book tag we're going to be talking about today is most beautiful book you bought this year. So I actually have two. First one I'm going to say is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. I just read this past week. I just love this cover. I also love the sprayed edges. It is beautiful. I bought it last fall, and I'm so glad that I did because it is such a beautiful book, and it definitely matches the vibe of the actual book itself. I also know that the second book comes out in July, and it looks equally as beautiful as well. So I already pre-ordered it. Don't worry. And the next book I'm going to talk about is Sirens by Amelia Hart. Like I said, her books, she just does such a great job with making you feel like you are in the story with our main characters. The cover matches this book perfectly. The vibe, everything about it. No notes. And that is going to be it for my mid-year check-in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is really fun for me. I love getting to talk about books that I absolutely love. Also, getting to reflect on my year is really, really fun for me as well. So I'm excited to be able to take you guys along with me and share some of the highs and lows that we've been having so far this year in 2025. I'm really, really excited for the second half of the year. There's so many great books that are coming out and so many great books that I'm excited to read. And I feel like we're already off to a great start with the year when it comes to reading. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.